Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. We are here joined by Riley Cote, former Philadelphia Flyer, and I'm super excited to talk some hockey. Sadly, we're not going to get hockey over the next handful of days because of the COVID situation, so I'm going to do my best to bring that to everybody. Riley, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Brodes. How's everything?
Just putting the head down, man. Got to put the head down, put gut in the corners, muck and grind, loose puck, find, you know what I mean? That's what it's all about. Got to cash in those paychecks. But, look, you're doing something awesome. Before we dive into the hockey stuff, you have a fantastic podcast going out right now, Nasty Knuckles. And I saw the other day, first, your most recent one, Aaron Asham. That was fantastic. Then I saw, when you had Simone Gagne on, that hit me different. Because Simone Gagne, to me, when I was younger growing up, my dad was the typical standard Broad Street Bullies dad that, like, took me to the games. Like, oh, the vet, this and that, and, like, the old school Philadelphia, the Spectrum, all of it. And Simone Gagne, that was like a personal tie to me to the game when I was younger. So it was just cool. But, yeah, tell us a little bit about the Nasty Knuckles pod.
Yeah, you know what? Nasty, Derek Settlemeyer, myself, good buddies going back to our Phantoms days back in 04, 05, and just a great relationship. And he's one of those things. He got this awesome studio where he does his skate sharpening and pro shop and the whole bit. And I was over there one day, and we're just kind of firing some ideas around, and we're like, man, we just got to sit down and just like sit down and humanize, the player and tap into our network. You know, we obviously have some good connections within the Flyers, guys we played with and guys that have retired and within the alumni, and said, well, why don't we just give it an honest, try and just, connect with these guys, bring them in. And that's what we did. You know, we started off with Scott Hartnell. We're in episode 9 now. We just finished with Aaron Asham, but I think the first 6 or 7 were in person. And, as you move along and the season got started and, just logistics, it just, landed up going more Zoom and in that way. But, plan on going back into the studio and getting that, say personalized communication, looking guy in the eye and, it just lands up being a little bit better production. But yeah, a lot of fun, connecting with a lot of these guys that I played with. There's a few guys I hadn't played with that are on the Flyers, Kevin Hayes, Jake Voracek, Ivan Provorov, a few other guys. But yeah, a lot of fun, for me, it is that. It's just fun. It's an opportunity to kind of just get back in that locker room mentality, share some stories, have some laughs, and push out some content.
Yeah, no doubt. See, for me, when my hockey career ended, it was healthy scratch, not loving the game anymore. But when I sit back now, that kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth because that's how it ended. But the locker room side of things, like, that's what I miss. I was the one dancing in the showers, being the goofball. Like, that was my personality in there. And, that's what I miss. And this allows us to kind of do that, bring that personality back out. And I think it's, sadly, in this market, see, I'm obsessed with hockey to the point where I'll tune into Toronto sports radio, listen to Overdrive, and just listen to that market talk about hockey like we do Eagles. And I feel like the Flyers, it just doesn't generate enough good hockey talk. So luckily, we kind of have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of looking to do. We just want to put out some, positive, say Flyer-esque type of content and have some fun with it. I do agree with you. There is not enough of it. And I think there's a lot of, X's and O's, like, just rambling off stats. But I think, again, a lot of fans don't realize that these guys are human beings, and they are, emotional beings, and they have feelings, and they have fun and all this stuff. They kind of see them, through the camera with the helmet on the bench. And I think all we want to do is we don't really want to talk, numbers and all that other stuff. We want to talk about, some stories, experiences, how the game's evolved, their mindset coming in to when they left the game, because obviously it changes, as you know. Yeah, so just having fun with it. Yeah, we don't want to overly complicate it. We don't want to, be that the data-driven analytics, podcast.
You're not big into Corsi?
Yeah, no. I'm the old eye test. It's like I can tell the energy. I can tell what's going on. I don't need all that. Yeah, I understand. I did the coaching thing too, so I understand the Corsi and the analytics to some degree, but nothing outdoes the old eye test and the energy test. You can feel it. When guys are going, they're not going.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, we'll start here because I think it's interesting. You brought up how the game changed, and obviously you like to drop the mitts and all. And I produce a show on Sunday mornings on 97.3 with a Get Off My Lawn guy who, he thinks this team right now doesn't have enough fighters. They need those goons. I'm like, Bill, if they fix the defense, you have a team that can compete for a championship. He thinks they're a fighter away. I'm like, they're not a fighter away, but he loves that mentality, and I'm just curious, from someone who used to be like a fighter in the league, do you like that it's this way? Like, all Baker Bell dropped the mitts the other night. Look, he took a good shot in the face, too. I mean, he took a good one from Connor Clifton, and he stood his ground. But I think to me personally, and maybe you disagree, I like where the game is at with the fighting. I think this is a good mix of there's fighting, you can get the boys going, especially with no fans. Like, this is a good limit. I didn't like the bench brawl style hockey. I like the fourth line with speed, skill. You can roll 4 lines, but where fighting is now, I kind of like where it's at. I'm curious to get your opinion on it, though.
You know what? I agree with you. I think there's a happy medium between the Broad Street Bullies and like maybe a little bit more of this, say this new age type of hockey. I think there's still room for some toughness, but I don't think, to this guy's point, I don't think they're a fighter away from winning a Stanley Cup. There's certain elements now that you really need to hone in on, like you said, defense. I mean, I think they got the good solid goaltending. I think they got enough offense, honestly. I think if the defense improves, the offense will be improved as well along with that. But adding a little toughness wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, when I say toughness, it's not like the guy like myself would play 4 to 6 minutes a night and go out there and then you expect to fight. I think the modern day tough guy is, I say Wayne Simmons. I mean,
yeah, it's perfect.
I mean, he's I know he's hurt now, but he can score, he can fight, and he can play a regular shift. I think there is an element that you can still incorporate in the game, but there's not enough of those types of guys. That every team has one of those guys. So that being said, it's pretty interesting that the Flyers took 12 games to get their first fight, and the first fight comes from Kubel. But to your point, I'm old school as an old school player, but I'm also a guy that has to evolve with the times, and I understand the direction the game is going. I still do like the element of self-policing accountability when the time is right, because I have seen that the game has gone a little bit cheap, and the guys are going so fast and they're just such conditioned athletes that the things happen, right? And there's a little bit lack of respect. There's something powerful about having that accountability in the lineup, and I still think there's that hybrid element that you can bring together where it's high skill, and then when the time comes, guys answer the bell. And you've seen that around the league, actually, with Jamie Benn and Jordy Benn and Kachuk and whoever. There's actually been a decent amount of fighting the last few games. Braden Shen, Luke Shen.
I wonder how much has to do with the no fans thing. Like, you want to generate some buzz from the team because there's no energy in there. So, you got to find a way, if you will.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where it's coming from. Some of these guys that were fighting caught me off guard a little bit, but yeah, man, when it's such an emotional game, with or without fans. Obviously, the fans can influence emotion a little bit, but you remove the fans out of the game. This is like childhood hockey, right? This is as raw as it gets. It's just like going out there and playing the game. And again, you got grown men fighting for a rubber biscuit. I mean, the emotions rise. Guys get their elbows up. There's some cheap shot things going on around the ice, and again, that self-policing, that accountability really does play into the mind of the game. But I do agree with you. I like where it's going. It's high skill, high speed, but you still have to protect your players in some way, shape, or form, because obviously the refs miss a lot. And there's things going on behind the play, but no, definitely don't think we'll ever see the Broad Street Bullies and that the 80s, 90s of every team carrying 4 or 5 heavyweights. That is completely outdated. That you'll never see that again. But I think there's a balance.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm curious, like, when you had that rush, like, do you miss that rush of dropping the mitts? And I think the first time we met, I told you my story, but I'll tell it again. When I had one career fight in junior, and it was the last regular season game. My goalie was playing the puck behind the net. He got hit and his helmet came off. And I didn't expect to fight because I'm not a fighter. But I gave the guy a couple how do you do's. And before I knew it, I was like, oh, shit, I'm in this thing. So here I am, and I throw one punch. I miss. He missed me. And before I knew it, he hit me square in the nose, blood everywhere. I can't see. I hit the LBRB button in NHL. Like, I turtle real quick. Lasted maybe 4 seconds, right? We were up 3-1 at the time, too. Terrible time and place to pick that fight. So, like, I had this dream where I fix the elbow patch with the lettuce. I do the old slick back of the hair, get the boys juiced up. Instead, I'm like, shit. I'm asking the ref, like, how bad is this? He's like, get to the locker room. I'm like, oh, shit. So I'm in the locker room. I got like chopsticks in my nose. They're like putting it back together. I go back out on the ice. It's 3-3. It's tied. And I'm like, oh, fuck, man. This is brutal. Everything that's bad about this situation's happening, except the boys pulled it out in overtime for me. So I'm like, yeah, here we go. But nightmare scenario. Didn't go as planned. But yeah, I'm just curious, like, the rush. Like, do you miss it? Like, what was the feeling like? Or I don't know. Look, some fighters, I've seen, the documentaries and everything going on with it. Like, they did it because they had to do it. They didn't really enjoy it. And I was just kind of curious on how you approached it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It was one of those things I had to do to survive, right? It was a survival mechanism, whether it was the fear of not living my childhood dream of not making it, not making my family members happy, or whatever it lands up being. It was a desperation move. I realized that the guys were getting called up were, a lot of goals and a lot of penalty minutes. And a guy, I was not drafted, so I was looking at the guys that are getting called up for penalty minutes. I was like, I can do this. I'm a competitive guy. So I took on the role when I was 20, Central Hockey League, East Coast Hockey League, American Hockey League, eventually found my way doing that exact same role. But to answer your question, the element of the fight, it's hard to ever replicate in life. It's surreal, right? The energy and the adrenaline and this warrior gladiator moment, right? Where it's you and the other guy and everyone's watching, and it's survival, but overall, like that mindset is hard to it's hard to sustain, right? I mean, it's a chronic state of anxiety. You're always fighting, you're always ready to fight. It's just like this constant, anxious energy around you. So I don't miss that. I do miss that element of competition in the moment. But if I could just remove all the fluff beforehand, the thinking about it, the shaking, while the national anthem is going and wondering when my next fight would be, just I think that's more in that world of, say, UFC or boxing, right? It's like, ding, 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 the fight's starting at that moment. But nonetheless, there's still that, performance anxiety that comes along with it. But a little bit mixed emotions. Yeah, I think I missed the locker room more than anything. I just missed like just being around and just like having fun with hockey, because that's the way we grew up, right? I mean, it was a game, and there was no game within the game, and worrying about fighting a guy 6'5", 255 pounds, and all this stuff. So I don't miss that, especially the way I'm wired now. I've kind of evolved out of that thinking, and trying to suppress the ego. As you can imagine, you got to like really tap into that. That artificial ego, that role playing world. I don't miss that. I'm cool with where I'm at. I like my brain now. And it's like I'm trying to treat my brain with some respect, my body with some respect now. So I really don't miss it a whole lot. But there's times where just like, wow, it's like I can't believe I did that, and that feeling is like something you can really never recreate unless probably jumping out of a plane or something like that. It's just like, but the adrenaline combined with that one-on-one combat is something interesting for sure. But I'm happy with where I'm at. I was able to regain and maintain my mental health and my brain health and everything after I retired and everything. So I'm happy the way it played out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now I'm with you. I miss the locker room side of things as well, as we kind of alluded to. And you're right. Like at one point, hockey was fun. Like it was all about it. And then once you get to a certain level, there's a lot more involved where it takes away the fun. It's a business. I never got to the business side, but even playing college hockey, it gets to the point where I was a freshman who played 8 out of the game. And like, oh, I'm a freshman. Okay, I worked my way in the lineup. Now I'm a sophomore, and here's the freshman coming in. Freshman D-men are playing more than me. You're getting scratched. It's like, it's a nightmare. I just want to play the damn game and move the puck.
Yeah, hop on the pond.
For sure. But we'll transition a little bit of like the actual Flyers right now, and we'll talk about the current state of the team. So I'm baffled by them. They are a mystery to me. The fact that they have 8 wins right now with this D-core, I almost feel like I don't know. Am I thinking too much about the D-core problems? Am I thinking too much about the power play flaws? They don't get enough shots on net, but they keep winning games. So do I look at it as, well, they keep winning, so they're doing something right? Or do I look at it as there's problems there and this is not sustainable? How do you kind of look at it?
Yeah, well, there's a couple ways to look at it. They're finding ways to win games, which is, their silver lining. Do they have to address the issues? Absolutely. And I think losing Cote there obviously put a dent in the team. And I don't know how many games he was gone for, maybe 6 or something.
Give or take.
Yeah. So somewhere in that window, obviously lose a guy like that. I mean, the structure of your team, a 200-foot guy there that's on for critical face-offs and end of game situations and all that. But that being said, you know, the decor certainly needs to be improved, and whether it's just, you know, adding, you know, a veteran body in there is not that easy to do. Otherwise, they might have looked to find someone a little bit more, you know, fit for that position. But you know, you got strong goaltending, you got amazing 1-2 punch, you got some young forwards that are, you know, stepping up and scoring and producing. And some games I don't understand it either, where they're only getting 20 shots, 23 shots, and they're scoring, you know, and they're getting outshot by 20 shots or something, and finding ways to win games. But you know, I think they obviously need to tighten up their back end, and I think it's, well, I mean, yeah, I think you tighten up the back end, and you will generate more offense too. It's just naturally the way it works, right? I mean, you turn pucks over, and then you go back the other way, and you go on offense. But if you're absorbing the whole time, it's hard to generate offense. So, you know, I think a guy like Ghost, you know, he comes out of the lineup there, and he comes back in, and I think I think they won 4 games in a row when he was in the lineup, and I think eventually his holes get exposed. You know, he's really just a pure offensive guy, and if he's not producing offensively, I mean, what was it, this first game? Oh, it was the third game against Boston there. In the first 10 seconds of the game, it's like, yeah, Pasternak made an unbelievable move, but like I think it's just one of those situations. You just got to find a way to get in the way, like trip him up or do something. You know what I mean? You can't give up a goal 10 seconds into the game. But you know, again, that being said, they've still been able to maintain that, you know, that tied for that first spot or whatever. I know Boston's got a couple less games than them played, but you know, they're still been able to, you know, maintain that you know, that position in the rankings there. So getting Cote back, you know, I think he's 1 game back, you know, under their belt there with him. I'd like to think that's going to improve the team's balance of overall balanced hockey. But yeah, I think it's somewhere down the line, if there's someone available in the back end, trade wise, I mean, I think they should look to add someone to calm that down. I mean, we were talking about this before we got on, you know, on air recording here. It was, you know, a guy like Niskanen. He wasn't a flashy guy, but he had the ability to just calm down the game. And he obviously was paired with Provorov, and I think he just calmed down Provy enough to let Provy do his thing, where he knew that Provy knew that Niski was good. He was going to cover for any mistakes or any bad bounces, but you know, having that veteran you know, player back there, whether it's Niski or someone else, is able to calm that, you know, that made that younger decor or the anxiety back there a little bit, it is valuable. You know, in teams that I play with, we'd have, you know, the Prongers of the world, the Darian Hatchers of the world, the Jason Smiths and the Kimmo Tiemanens, and, you know, these guys that really have the ability to calm down the game back there. So not that easy to find those guys, you know, say free agency or, you know, mid-season trade. You know, usually those guys you draft, and then you know, they come through the system and whatnot. But if there's someone's available, for sure, I think they should look to tighten up, because I think the Flyers are right there. I mean, look at the postseason last year. You know, you get Nolan Patrick back, you get Oscar Lindblom back, essentially 2 free agents, if you want to call them that, because they didn't play last year. The goaltending, you know, the 1-2 punch there. Again, Carter Hart's is, I mean, to me, a franchise goalie that's going to continue to get better. He's so confident, even though he had, you know, ups and downs that everyone does. To me, they're better than they were last year. But maybe just tightening up that back end a little bit, I think they'll be good to go.
Yeah, the defense is tough to watch for sure, and teams aren't giving up top 4 defensemen. If you have a top 4 defenseman who's good, it's I'm keeping that guy. Why would I get rid of him? So it's going to be tough to just make a trade if you're Chuck Fletcher. Yeah, the Provorov thing's interesting because now you're playing with Ghost, and I think I'm not anti-Ghost. Obviously, he came out and his rookie year was awesome, and then there was battling some injuries. I think it's tough because Gustafsson is a similar role to him. So now you have like 2 of those same guys out there, and the way I look at it is, once again, I think Ghost has a role, but if you go from struggling to find a lineup to a first pair D pairing, you know, like now you're on the first and your first, second D pair, it's like, how do you go from not being able to get into, hey, I'm logging in 20 plus minutes with Ivan Provorov? It's just a tough ask. But when he does generate offense, it is helping the team, and this team does need help generating offense, specifically on the power play. It's just hard to watch because it seems like it's mental issues, like pizza deliveries up the middle. We're talking about simple tape-to-tape passes. We're not talking about something so crazy where,
Yep.
that it's struggling. They should be able to make a simple pass. They should be able to hit the center down low, swing it, or use the glass and chip it out and go forecheck in the neutral zone. We shouldn't be making these dumb mistakes. I remember two guys were watching the puck in the corner, and I think Barzell might have been wide open in the high slot area. Is anyone going to do anything about that? Or are we both going to look at the puck? So it's frustrating because it's simple stuff, not a lack of skill stuff.
No, exactly. Well, I think what happens too sometimes, and I've seen this coaching, in the minor leagues, when you have too much skill, sometimes there is no play. And sometimes the play is, like you said, is just like, maybe it's an aerial pass, just popping the puck into the neutral zone, and, live to fight another day, just like relieve the pressure and let's get into a neutral zone forecheck. But I think some guys just like, they feel the need to always make that sexy play. And then whether that sexy play is there or not, they'll try and make it. And like you say, it turns out to be a disaster of a play. And I think, to your point there with Ghost and Provy, I think I think it's probably such a reliable guy that they want to put Ghost with him, but I think that it's taking away from Provy's game in a sense where he's not able to, like we just kind of talked about, where Provy's not able to kind of just go and be Provy because he might be thinking about covering Ghost sass. I don't know. But they might have to juggle some D pairs and see what's see if there's a better combination there. But
yeah, I feel like they did try that a couple times. They're moving around Sanheim and they're trying to put Phil Myers up there. And I like Phil Myers, but he's undrafted. I think that there are some, not rookie mistakes, but young mistakes. That is very, normal, if you will. But I saw them try to juggle things around. And I think it's funny. I swear, AV, and I think this is common nowadays with all these coaches. The mixing up of the lines within the periods, I feel, is insane, right? I just feel like, let's throw this together. Let's throw that together. Let's throw that. My buddy plays for Torts right now on Columbus, and he sent me the lineup before and was like, oh, look who I'm playing with tonight. I'm like, oh, yeah, for sure. And he goes, that'll be changed before the first TV timeout. It's coaches just fluff, just everything. Let's just throw all this together. And I just wonder if, I don't know, does that hurt chemistry? If you want to try and get chemistry, wouldn't that hurt it?
Yeah, you know what? I've thought a lot about that. And, being on the coaching side of things for years, I've worked with coaches that do that exact thing all the time. And it's like, and what I was suggesting is like, you change the lineups, not in the middle of the game. It's usually the pairings in the middle of the game just to give it, a 20-minute chance. It's like, okay, let's just reevaluate, these pairings for the last, 4 or 5 games. And let's just give these guys an honest try, like 2 or 3 games. And, and see how the chemistry actually is. Because if you keep changing it, yeah, you might find some chemistry for a moment or two, but it's, hockey is a messed up game. Freak things happen. You don't win every game, and every time we lose a game, we resort to just like, let's just pull this thing apart and then let's bring it, build it back up together. It's like, okay, we had an off night. Well, why did we didn't lose because the pairings were that bad or the lines were that off. You know what I mean? It was just because like maybe that one guy on that line wasn't going. So maybe we have to sit down and talk to that guy. But I know Torts and a lot of these coaches, I mean, a lot of it's message sending. So you got you got 2 or 3 shifts in the game and you're not going. So right away it's like, okay, well, we're going to change up the line. We're going to plug someone else in there. And I get it. But like, I think a lot of times it's coaches' ego too, that they have to justify their jobs and show the world that they're shuffling lines to make a change too. Or it's like, it's hard to have the confidence to say, guess what? We're not going right now, but we're going to go with what we practice all week with, you know what I mean? These are the lines. And just get your head out of your ass and let's get going.
Yeah, it's funny I say that, though, because I believe it was this most recent Capitals game where he juggled Raffle with Cote and Voracek, and they ended up scoring a big third period goal. And we were like, oh, great job, AV. But we give him credit when it happens. But then we're also, do you need to do it so much?
Yeah, and exactly. It looks good when it works, but it doesn't always work. I mean, we all know that, right? I mean, it's like you could also take that gamble and say in your mind, I'm gonna call a timeout and rip these guys a new asshole here, and we're gonna keep our lines consistent. We're gonna go back out, and they could respond just as well. You know what I mean? It's like it's
definitely
boring. There's different ways to look at it.
Did you see Tortsy sit line the other night?
Yeah,
what's your thoughts on it? Because like, there's a common theme here in Columbus, and maybe it's an organization thing, not so much a Tortsy thing. Now, my buddy loves playing for Tortsy, but he's also that work ethic guy that if you wanted to look up a definition of a Tortsy guy, it would be this kid. So obviously he's going to enjoy playing for Tortsy. But these line A's of the world, this guy could be a 40-goal scorer. I don't know if everyone needs to be that full-on throttle. Everyone has that identity, right? This kid's a goal scorer. Now, maybe sit him for a shift, sit him for 2 shifts, but you're going to sit him the whole third period as soon as you get there. You talked about the ego thing, the Torts nonsense, and this is a hot item around the hockey world. This isn't just once in a blue moon. Tortsy has this reputation. Thought it was a little strong to sit him the whole entire third period.
Yeah, you know what? I 100% agree. And there's a fine line of pushing your guys and, pushing them in the right direction and pushing them in the wrong direction. You know what I mean? Especially your superstars, your go-to guys, you gotta have them on your side, and there's a fine line of sending a message and then just being a complete, ass. You know what I mean? Because you're just feeling good about yourself. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I had that that aha moment too when I got into coaching, because I was like, I was just like a worker. I was a coachable guy, but I wasn't exactly a smart worker. But coaches could physically see me trying my best, but I wasn't like a 40 goal scorer either. So it's like I've played with really high skill guys, and John Paddock was the coach that I worked with that really kind of like opened my eyes. When I was picking games apart, I'm like, look at this guy being lazy in this moment. And then he would be like, well, he's a 40 goal scorer, so we got to give him a little bit more breathing room, because, sometimes when you're cheating like that, it actually, the offensive chances that generally pop up, because, maybe because it's not cheating. It's just reading the play, or, it looks like a lack of effort. So I think you have to change your mentality sometimes. It's easy to just like blow a gasket and be like, you didn't, do the most absolute effort on that in that moment. So let's bench him for the third period. And then you're going to eventually lose the guy completely. Who wants to play for that? You can't even do anything, within your skill set, and you feel like you're getting benched. So, and I played with a guy like Tony Vos. I remember Tony, a local Philly guy back with the Phantoms. And, he was one of those guys that, coaches get all over, say cheating or not back checking is hard. But next thing you know, Tony's slowly getting back. Next thing you know, puck's up the wall and he's on a breakaway. Tony's on a breakaway and scores. And it's like, some of these really high skilled guys, it's like they think a little bit differently. So you have to kind of be somewhat compassionate to their skill level. But in saying that, obviously every coach on earth demands effort. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's not like we're, I don't know exactly what play he saw or didn't see that made him feel like he needed to bench him for the third period after, I think it was his third game with Blue Jackets. Message sending, yes, important, but you just gotta be like a little bit more understanding, especially when you're dealing with high-end guys. You need those guys towing the rope with you, not towing it against you, and you'll always be in a battle.
Yeah, this is like a guy who can score you goals. You would think that you would recognize that, but Torts is unique. I'm interested to see how this thing all plays out. I mean, obviously, Pierre-Luc Dubois wasn't happy. He forced his way out of town. There's been plenty of guys unhappy. And I think Koivu retired out of nowhere. People are speculating, is that a Tortsy thing? Is he like, I'm done with this guy. This guy's put me in retirement.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's I was thinking the same thing. You said your buddy, appreciates Torts. And, our first episode, Nasty Knuckles, we had Scott Hartnell on, and he talked about Torts, at length, and nothing but good things to say about him as a character, as a person, like the nicest guy, give you a shirt off his back, but sometimes I think he gets a little delusional. He told a story about, Hartsey wasn't playing like the last, 15 minutes of the games, and was wondering like why his role was diminished. And he's like, Torts, can I sit down, and talk about my game and see what's going wrong? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, grab the assistant coach. We'll pull some clips together and we'll talk about why I haven't been playing you. And then, and then Torts comes. He's like, Hartsey. He's like, we went through the last 5 or 6 games and we haven't found anything, that you've been out of position or anything like that. He's like, anything like that. He's like, I think I just don't have confidence in you, and that's why I'm not playing you. But he was like honest enough to like say that, like, that you didn't have confidence in him, but like he was sitting him thinking that there was all these clips of him being out of position when they broke down the film. So Hartsey's like, what the hell, man? I've been sitting here and,
That's funny. That is funny.
Yeah. So
speaking of Hartsey, though, I know we originally we were like, hey, let's talk some Flyers, but naturally we just go in all these other directions.
Right.
when he did his first post-game show, he threw the shinny thing out there, and the whole Philadelphia fan base like, did he just say shitty on the air? Yeah. Like that's classic standard people just being out of touch with the hockey world. Did you talk to him about the whole shinny thing or anything? I thought that was hilarious watching. First off, I was surprised that people were actually focusing in on the Flyers to even see that happen because they don't get enough love. But he threw shinny out there. I was like, wow, people are that out of touch with some hockey terminology, huh?
Yeah, you know what? I actually didn't see it, but I heard about it after the fact. And you know, the fact that you don't know what shinny is it shows you. I mean, it's like how disconnected you are. Because I mean, I think every player on the planet that's ever actually played the game, you know, at one point called it shinny. You
Yeah,
know,
I hate to take a shot at the Flyers fan base or the Philadelphia fan base as a whole, but I am very disappointed in the hockey fandom. I think it's died off, and maybe it has something to do with the way that the organization is now, like because of how they're owned, and they kind of this Comcast kind of build this mold of gritty and this and that. They target different people now, and I think that plays a role in the viewership. Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, but I really do think that that's a big role. It doesn't seem like there's that. Like, there used to be the Flyers faithful that was diehard, and I still think it's there, but I think it died off a bit.
I agree. Yeah, I know. You know, you said it. It's kind of like when you see like these smaller markets get NHL teams where they're trying to put people in the stands, but they're selling this. They're selling a package of entertainment. They're not, you know, they're not real, true, loyal hockey fans. But they're, you know, they'll make a nice piece of marketing, and they'll see it, and it's like, oh yeah, nice family package, and we'll take our family out. But there's no, you know, exact connection to the hockey world. I think, like you said, I think you go from that era of like real, true, you know, hardcore Flyer fans, which are, you know, under that umbrella of Ed Snyder and like, you know, like a true ownership. And then it's gone so corporate that, that I've heard from, you know, season ticket holders that they didn't renew because it's just like become too corporate, and obviously expense goes up, and the connection between the fans and the team goes away. And then now it's just like, you're selling now, you're just kind of like, you know, just like all these other teams, it's just a package of entertainment. You get the mascot, and nothing wrong with the mascot, but like there's a disconnect between the fans and the team itself. I feel when you go so corporate, then you just become an entertainment, sports entertainment package versus, a hockey club that, you know, the fans connect with. And you see, in Canada, I don't think that'll ever go away because, you know what I mean? There's like, you know, the fans are like true legitimate fans, like, but, just bigger hockey markets in the US. Didn't think it would go this way in Philly. But I do agree. In the last few years, I've seen it dissipate for sure. That connection between the true fan and the product on the ice.
Yeah, like I'm jealous of Canadian market. I sit here and I watch this Canadian division like every night. The fact that the Maple Leafs and the Habs play tonight, like I'm ready to go at 7 o'clock. I might even be 8 o'clock, and I got to double check. But I know they play tonight, and I'm like super juiced up, ready to go. And I'm listening to Toronto sports radio this morning. They're like, "Oh, the Habs tonight," and they're talking about the fourth line, and I'm like, this is what I want. I enjoy, because we here in Philadelphia, if there's a running back that is not active on game day for the Eagles, we freak out. You know, like I want that applied to hockey. I find it so fascinating that Canada is like that. And you're from Manitoba, right?
I am. Yep.
Yeah, my buddy played for the Moose, and he said he hated the Winnipeg area. He says there's nothing to do up there. Is there anything to do in that area?
Exactly.
Yeah, I visited Calgary.
Yep.
Yeah, I visited Calgary over last summer, and I stayed with Gaudreau, and like he showed me around town, went to a bunch of games and all, which was pretty cool. And when I got off the plane, I was like, holy shit, this is where you live, huh? Like, I swear it was almost like when you look in the desert in a cartoon and nothing's going, but like the wind's blowing stuff down the street. I'm like, holy shit, this is Calgary, huh? But I went up to Banff, Lake Louise, and that was all cool. But, man, Manitoba, from what I hear, there is nothing that way. Is that just a lie, or is that the truth?
Well, yeah, no, it's if you thought that of Calgary, then, you know, you should Winnipeg. But it's, especially in the wintertime, man, it is flat and cold and windy. That being said, it's very, very four-season oriented. So, like, you know, spring comes around, you know, you got the 2 months of summer. And, you know, there's some pretty cool things to do in the summertime between the lakes and, you know what I mean? Some stuff.
I like it. Don't get me wrong. I think it's cool, unique, it's different. But, like, if you play in Nashville or something.
Oh, yeah. It's a completely different mindset, you know. Up in Canada, especially, like, those really cold areas, like, it's just hockey, man. It's just, like, hockey and staying indoors. I mean, it's, like – and like you said, like, it's a different mentality of playing in Nashville or somewhere in Florida and whatnot. You can leave the rink and go, you know, you can go golf. You know, it's, like, a little different animal, right? So – but, you know, from what I've learned is most of the guys that played in Winnipeg, as far as like the hockey goes, they really enjoy it. Right. I mean, but like, you know, like Kevin Hayes was talking about on our podcast, going from New York Rangers to Winnipeg. It was like, what was a culture shock? But he says, that being said, he said several examples of like how passionate the fans are and how they're talking about Kevin Hayes, like he's in line up for a coffee. And this is the guys are talking about Kevin Hayes coming to town. And you know what I mean? All these different things where it's like the fans actually really do love hockey and they really are excited about, the team itself. So it's this trade-off, you get
definitely.
You're there for a job, right? You're there to these guys are making a lot of money. So
and the team's good. Yeah, I mean, Mark Scheifele. I mean, you got everything there where, it's not like you're going there and you're getting something equivalent to a team that can't play. And then it's like, wow, not only am I in a spot that maybe it's not Nashville or something, like I'm not taking shots out. I would play for the Winnipeg Jets if that makes us feel any better here. Yeah, I'd take that offer.
You both.
Yeah, for real. So, all right, look, I think we just shot the shit for a little bit. That was some fun. We went way off track and in way many different directions, but I guess that's what kind of happens when you just shoot the shit. So, before we head out of here, why don't you tell everyone where you can find all your podcasts at, all the podcasting platforms that Nasty Knuckles is on?
Yeah, our two big ones are Apple Podcasts, and this is Nasty Knuckles. We're on YouTube. We're filming all these, so Nasty Knuckles on YouTube. We have a nastyknuckles.com, which basically a platform to check out all these podcasts and some merch and stuff like that. And then Instagram, Nasty Knuckles Pod, and Twitter, we are Nasty Knuckles.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I saw your Wayne Simmons fight go nice around the Twitter sphere.
Right? It's funny how that works, eh?
Yeah, it's a shame he got hurt. He was actually kind of having a nice bounce back stretch.
I know, man. He had a couple tucks there, a couple fights. He was looking good in the blue and white there, and yeah, it's tough, man.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get Simmer on here soon too.
Yeah, that'd be cool, no doubt about it. So, all right, sweet. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you next time.
Thanks, Brodes.
Cool, beautiful. Let me make sure I pause this bitch.